Marshall picked Chapter 5. The proud golden skeleton. These 32 words meanings were very easy to understand. Naturally, Yan Kai understood. But the Black Book's history was unclear, thus he was a bit afraid. What if this was a trap of some sort? Thinking of this, he laughed at himself, for apparently he was only a trials disciple of High Heaven Pavilion. Who would go to the effort of taking care of him? From just looking at the last couple of lines and their meaning, the reason why the black stone pillow will turn into a black book was probably because of his dream tonight. For over 1 year, the pillow didn't change. Then suddenly after that dream it turned into a book. They must be connected. Is it because of his own change that also changed the black stone pillow? Since it was I who led to the book's birth, then this black book was born for me. Thus I am this black book's owner. Thinking of this, Yan Kai hesitated no more. The writing clearly on the book clearly states that he must drip blood in order to leave. Thinking of this, he bit onto his finger part and dripped a drop of blood onto the page. Drip, drip. The blood went onto the page, but there was no apparent change. After a fair amount of time passed, from the page, black light started to emerge. His body immediately felt unwell, for the injuries from earlier today had started to sear in pain. His head had also started to hurt. Biting down on his teeth, he continued to endure. His blood continued to flow, and the light on the book was becoming brighter and brighter. After a large amount of time and effort, Yan Kai nearly fainted. But there had been substantial change to the book, and the black light had started to wiggle and contract. And from the center of the page, a tiny vortex had appeared. Following that, from within the vortex, a golden swirl could be seen. Yan Kai put great effort to maintain a clear mind, staring intently to the transformation in front of him. Within the black vortex, a small, round, shiny, black object gradually came out. He was shocked, for there really was something in the book. Even though while he was dripping his blood, he had some expectations, he didn't think that it was actually true. But right now, right in front of him, the 30 words from before were not false. With blood as offering, the gold body shall descend. After a while, after the shiny, round thing had fully appeared in front of him, he couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. No matter how rich his imagination was, he wouldn't have thought that the gold body would be like this. This thing was about 30 tall golden skeleton, and to think the first thing that came out was this skeleton's skull. The golden skull just floated on top of the book page, sitting cross-legged like it was mediating. Every piece of the bone managed to light up Yan Kai's tiny hut. The black vortex on the page slowly began to recede, and everything reverted back to its tranquil state. Yan Kai had watched this strange golden skull appeared, for a time did not know how to react. On page said only how to get the gold body out, but didn't say what to do after it came out. Looking at it, he thought there wasn't something right. The golden skeleton in front of him had no eyes, but he felt like it looked like his own. It obviously didn't have any mouth, but was clearly mocking the weak master in front of it. Thinking of this, Yan Kai was furious and went to pick it up. This small, insignificant skeleton dares to be so arrogant. He didn't think that when he went to reach out for it, the golden skeleton flew out towards him, flying past his hand and embedded himself on his chest. This was a bit of a horror. With the skeleton smashing onto his chest, he cried out, and then the skeleton started to emit a fluorescent light and penetrated deep into the pores of Yan Kai's limbs. Sylvan, just how big must your core be to fix something like a skull? I know it should be round to come, but still. Suddenly, pain exploded all over his body. But the pain was not an ordinary pain, but the pain from the depths of the bone. He breathed in painfully, fell to the ground, his body bent like shrimp, with waves of cramps. His whole body's bones shattered at that moment, and he couldn't even lift a finger, for he had no strength. This was not an illusion. If you could see into his body, then you can see his bones being crushed, and next to each crushed bone, there was a layer of gold wrapped around, continuously repairing the broken bones, but far slower than the damage speed. When the repair was finished, it was crushed again. Human bones wrap round bone marrow and bone marrow nerve. Any small touch to them can bring great harm. One can only imagine his suffering at that moment. In his body, not a single bone wasn't shattered. Even for others, even if their strength of thousands of times higher than his, they would have probably fainted now. But with Yan Kai, he could only feel the pain a thousandfold right now. Tragic cry came from the hut. Not far away, a fellow disciple was out for a walk, was frightened by the cry and quickly ran away. From somewhere, he received a message that came from the gold body. I will destroy your conscience and seize your body. Did Yan Kai agree? Even if he was unable to move, but also struggled to maintain the awareness, he will never let Golden Buddy take over the magpie nest. The Golden Buddy felt fear, so over and over again crushed Yan Kai's bones, tortured his nerves, so that he fainted thereon. One is a proud golden statue, another with an indomitable spirit, who wins, who loses. No one could foresee the outcome. Yan Kai knew that right now it was really important, unlike the previous challenges with his fellow disciples. If this was the past him, then he would have given up, but now he will not. Even if it hurts like hell, will endure. His consciousness, the Golden Buddy's destructive power, both commenced a hard tug of war. And the battlefield is the Yan Kai's body. You pull, I pull, each not letting an inch go. Over time, Yan Kai was surprised to find that the intolerable pain was slowly reducing, help lift his spirits and fill him full of energy. It's no wonder, after Yan Kai and the gold body clashed time and time again, the numerous crushing of his bones had strengthened them. With his bones becoming stronger and stronger, and the gold body's powers began to become weaker and weaker, the pain thus naturally alleviated. The struggle will soon end. With the scales tipping in his favor, the unbearable pain slowly became bearable, transforming into light tickles, then becoming like splashes of cold water. This feeling was like applying cream, allowing his millions of pores to open and relax. Aware of the gold body's desperate struggle, made Yan Kai furious. Cursing loudly, he crushed that presence within him. Inside his body, it had finally calmed down. A sigh could be heard, a sigh full of comfort and trace of great relief. Marshall Pick Chapter 6. A mighty steed and a beautiful woman will be presented as a gift to the hero. He, after quietly lying on the ground for more than an hour, Yan Kai stood up, although he had just used up all his strength. An hour before, Yan Kai felt it was like a dream. He really could not believe this was true. Quietly he punched himself and felt the pain. In the end, what was it? He muttered to himself in helplessness. Waking until his heart stopped beating, he suddenly found himself somewhat different from before. For he couldn't eat 3 fulfilling meals a day, and every 5 days he would suffer beatings. Thus, his body bones are weak. But now he clearly perceived that his bones were full of vitality. A surge of energy, filled with warmth, slowly circulated inside and outside his body. Moving slightly, the bones burst out a crystal-clear sound, making it seem like a melody being played. And Yan Kai, who was hurt today, couldn't feel that pain anymore. Aware of this, Yan Kai quickly rolled up his sleeves and opened his clothes. Looking closely, he found that his body no longer had any bruises and injuries. They had all disappeared. Even those old wounds were healed. He felt as unblemished as a newborn baby. Rubbing the places that previously held wounds, dead skin fell. This revealed the new tender skin underneath, like a baby's, but far healthier. He swallowed down a cold lump, thinking of that golden skeleton in his body had such strong recovery ability. Then, feeling his own strength, and found that he was still at the tempered body third stage, did no change. This discovery somewhat made him a little disappointed. Rivers and illusions, with secrets known only to insiders. This type of story Yan Kai heard much during his childhood. He knew in world there are many men eligible to jump past the dragon gate, becoming powerful and famous. But, after all, it's just a story. How many people can really be happy and gain such luck and results in this world? Those seer experts with greater strength, the more I could not bear to lower themselves with earth and bury, always finding inheritor before death. I want to jump off a cliff, drill a cave, and encounter events. Such unlikely things will happen. But the current problem had happened to him. That black book must have had some great background, and that golden skeleton must be extraordinary. This can be said as his good fortune. It could also be said as fate. The 4 sentences on the black book's first page: proud gold body, rules the fence, indomitable spirit, will it descend? If he didn't pick up the black book, but another picked it up, they too will treat it was garbage. Unable to prize, open like mouth, tie. Precisely because he picked it up, and used it as a pillow for a year, it felt his body's unyielding and tough nature, unlocking the secrets of black book today. In other words, this thing really is his first encounter, but it's the first achievement that he obtained through his own hands. Thinking of this, Yan Kai suddenly burst out in comfort. Isn't this what they say? A mighty steed and a beautiful woman will be presented as a gift to the hero. Thinking of it suddenly, this book, that was his pillow for over a year. He wasn't anxious to find out what it was nor how he found it. Between being anxious and somewhat weakened in the body, the black book abruptly appeared in front of Yan Kai and snapped shut, falling to the ground. He was stunned. Picking up the book, he furrowed his eyebrows while thinking hard. Struck with an idea, a move from his hands, the book disappeared, and a further move made it appear again. This scene was like a magic trick. One could see that Yan Kai's face was very solemn, because he truly felt that the black book could escape into his body with a single After saying it, he nearly gave himself a fright. Soul Stone. This was considered a legendary gem. Only when hundreds of millions of ghosts gather in the abyss, and with the help of vast amounts of human vitality, will it start to form. Rumor has it that this is how it was formed. Inside the black stone, with misery of 100 million lids, the living cannot enter, and green grass can only hope they can grow on it. Those words were somewhat exaggerated. But pro soulstone about 3.5 x 3.5 come to form. How many lids must be taken? The formation of this mythical rock was really cruel and bloody. What every life near it during its creation will be dead within milliseconds. Also, the formation time is unimaginable. It could that up to a millennium or even 10 millenniums. Putting the formation process aside, this saltstone can be considered a supreme treasure. That is because it has a very unique ability, for it can be melded with one's body and also open up a dimension. This space is quite flexible. Storing things will be no hassle. Even though Yan Kai is only a trial disciple, a humble position, his experiences were not lacking. Not to mention, the story of the legendary soulstone has been around for many years. Anyone would know the story. When he just obtained this black book, he didn't think about this. Thinking about how the books went into his body, he thought about how the gold skeleton came out from the book. How could he not recognize the book's material? He immediately started sweating. Soulstones were the things of legends, long extinct in the world. He didn't think that he will be able to encounter one, let alone such a large one. The legends only talked about 3.5 x 3.5 sized soulstones, for it was only found that large. Even at that size, it was priceless. But the only in front of him was somehow made into a black book that was 30x7. Its value is immeasurable. If this news were to spread out, even if it's the entire Han dynasty, not mention a mere martial school, they will probably be crushed overnight to obtain it. Yang Kai couldn't help but feel his hands heat up. This heart had not forgotten the terror, but luckily it could be taken into his body. Otherwise he would be in great danger. His body hiding this treasure, he swiftly escaped back into his hut. He dared not to be carelessly, while his heart beat madly. He was becoming more and more excited, whilst also becoming more and more uneasy. His strength was currently too low, so how could he guard this treasure? Even though the black book could be taken into his body, eliminating chances of being discovered. This didn't lessen the worry in his heart. Only practice, only the strong will be able to protect what is theirs. Thinking about what happened 3 years ago, Yan Kei's eyes gradually calmed down. All on his without any support he came to this school. What is not for practice and strength? Even though he obtained this book, he took it into his hands. On the first page was the proud golden body. Even though he didn't know what use it had, it couldn't be useless. This book also had so many pages. It couldn't only possess this one golden skeleton,